Poverty.
Poverty entails more than the lack of income and productive resources to ensure sustainable livelihoods. Its manifestations include hunger and malnutrition, limited access to education and other basic services, social discrimination and exclusion, as well as the lack of participation in decision-making. Poverty is the state of not having enough material position or income for a person's basic needs. Poverty may include social, economic, and political elements. Absolute poverty is the complete lack of the means necessary to meet the basic personal needs, such as food, clothing, and shelter. Essentially, poverty refers to lacking enough resources to provide the necessities of life: food, clean water, shelter, and clothing. But in today's world, that can be extended to include access to healthcare, education, and even transportation. Poverty is not just about money, but also includes issues of access to services such as healthcare and education. Marginalization and exclusion. Learn about these complexities and how World Vision has been partnering with donors to reduce poverty in the world. The cause of poverty is said to exist when people lack the means to satisfy their basic needs. Poverty has been associated, for example, with poor health, low levels of education or skills, an inability or unwillingness to work, high rates or disruptive or disorderly behavior, and improvidence. The effect of poverty is linked with negative conditions such as substandard housing, homelessness, inadequate nutrition and food insecurity, inadequate child care, lack of access to healthcare, unsafe neighborhoods, and under-resourced schools, which adversely impact our nation's children. This can be described as those required for survival or those reflecting the community's current quality of living. The first criterion would apply solely to individuals on the verge of famine or death from famine exposure. The second would apply to those whose nourishment, housing, and clothes, though adequate to maintain life, are insufficient to ensure survival. While this characteristic has been linked to poverty, including them in the definition of poverty would hide the link between them and inability to meet one's fundamental requirements, whatever terms is used. Authorities and laypeople alike think that poverty has negative consequences for both individuals and society.
Background of poverty and development. Rankings of poverty around the world. In order to determine if a particular country is poor or rich is their GNI, or gross national income. GNI is used to measure and track a nation's wealth from year to year, whether if their economic's progress is growing or experiencing recession, while GDP is the monetary value of all the finished goods and services produced within a country's border in a specific time period and includes anything produced within its borders by the country's citizens and foreigners. It is primarily used to assess the health of a country's economy. GNI is the dollar value of a country's final income divided by its population. Its income is the sum of value added by all resident, producers, and product taxes, not included in the output valuation plus net receipts of primary income from abroad. According to the World Bank, a country that has gross national income of less than $1,026 can be considered as low-income countries or poor countries. Poverty entails more than the lack of income and productive resources to ensure sustainable livelihoods. Its manifestations include hunger and malnutrition, limited access of education and other basic services, social discrimination and exclusion, as well as the lack of participation in decision-making. Various social groups bear disproportionate burden of poverty. Unemployment and underemployment lies at the core of poverty. For the poor, labor is often the only asset they can use to improve their well-being. Hence, the creation of productive employment opportunities is essential for achieving poverty reduction and sustainable economic and social development. It is crucial to provide decent jobs that both secure income and empowerment for the poor, especially women and younger people. Here are some of the examples of poorest countries. Taiwan. Taiwan is considered poor because of their current population. Taiwan has 23.8 million citizens and will continue to grow as time will pass. In the next 8 years, the population will be reaching its peak of 24.1 million. But after 2030, the population will decline slowly. On the other hand, it will hurt Taiwan's productivity and take away spending on technology and education to pay for pensions and healthcare benefits for an aging population. The next is Tanzania. Tanzania is also facing the same problem as Taiwan. Their population is the main reason how their country, its population has 61.3 million, and by the end of the century, it will become 282.67 million. A rapidly growing population in Tanzania means increased levels of poverty and income inequality. Tanzania also faces HIV/AIDS epidemic that affects life expectancy and higher death rate. And the third one is Liberia. Liberia has one of the highest population growth rates in the world, although it has fallen in recent years. From 1960 to 2012, Liberia's population grew 274%, just like the Tanzania, and Taiwan also experienced problems with regards to population. Most high development progressive country. The primary factor used to distinguish if a country is developing or developed its gross domestic product (GDP) per capita, a tally of all the goods and services produced in a country in 1 year. A developed country is a sovereign state with a developed economy and technologically advanced infrastructure compared to other nations. There are also several factors that determine whether or not a country is developed, including the Human Development Index, political stability, industrialization, and freedom. United Nations develops a measurement that measures human development, including life expectancy, education, and health. Developed countries score of HDI wages from 80 and above. Developed countries also have post-industrial economies with service sectors contributing more to the nation than the industrial sector. Here are some examples of developed countries. Norway, considered as top one of the most developed countries in all over the world. It has an HDI of 0.954 and every person life expectancy is 82 years old, while having the average gross salary of $5,165 per month. Most of Norway's workers are employed in service sectors. And the next is Switzerland, considered as top 2 of the most developed country in all over the world. It has more competitive economy than other countries, while in life expectancy of a person is 83 years old than Norway, with an HDI of 0.946. And the third country is Ireland. United Nations ranked Ireland of the most fast developed country in the last 5 years, with an HDI of 0.942. Aside from having a life expectancy of 83 for women and 79 for men, they both achieve income and gender equality. Ireland's economy is outstanding in full employment and rising wages than other European countries.
Social issues and poverty in development. Types of poverty: absolute poverty, relative poverty, situational poverty, generational poverty, rural poverty, and urban poverty. Issues and poverty: poverty eradication, social inclusions, employment and decent work, and inequality. Effects of poverty: poor health, crime, and lack of education. The main causes of poverty in the country are low to moderate economic growth for the past 40 years, low growth elasticity of poverty reduction, weaknesses in employment generation and the health quality of jobs generated, failure to fully develop the agriculture sector, high inflation during crisis periods, high levels of population growth, high and persistent levels of inequality, incomes and assets, which dampen the positive impacts of economic expansion, and frequent shock and exposure to risks such as economic crisis, conflict, natural disaster, and environmental poverty. How poverty impacts economic growth. Poverty may impact on economic growth include investment capacity constraint, lack of access to credit aggravated by the underdevelopment of financial markets, human capital constraint, lack of education, healthcare, and nutrition, regular deaths of risk and shock, causing poverty traps, and conflicts disorder resulting from inequality which hamper investment and destroy social capital.
Why it is important to address poverty. Addressing poverty can make us all more aware of what the status of our country, because the children who suffered poverty are not its only victims. When children do not succeed as adults, all of the society pays the price. Businesses are able to find fewer good workers, consumers pay more for their goods, hospital and health insurance spend more treating preventable illnesses, teachers spend more time on remediation and special education. Private citizens feel less safe on the street. Governors hire more prison guards. Mayors must pay for shelters homeless families. Judge must hear more criminals, domestic and other cases. Taxpayers pay for more problems that could have been prevented. Fire and medical worker must respond to emergencies that never should have happened, and funerals director must bury children who never should have died. Addressing the poverty, we can make some way to help our country in decreasing poverty even in our simplest way of actions.
What programs and action we may do to address these poverty issues? Some of these are government anti-poverty program, educational and healthcare assistance for children. Low-income households receive assistance for children between the ages of 0 to 10 years old in the areas of education. Temporary assistance to needy families. It is what people most often suggest and refer to when they discuss welfare. It provides cash payment to families with children, especially those in which one parent or usually the father, has left the house. Pre-job training programs. A variety of job training programs exist in every country addressing the unemployment. This program aimed to start opening the window for those who seek job opportunities with enough skills and ability but didn't meet the requirements and standard in employment. Unemployment insurance. Unemployment insurance include benefits to eligible people who have lost their jobs. Employers bear the brunt of the tax for this fund. Employers with a history of laying off more workers pay more. Housing subsidies for homeless families. Households below a certain income are eligible for government assistance. These are funded programs that provide housing assistance to low-income families, which helps pay for their housing expenses. Access to basic needs. Ensuring universal access to housing, water, sanitation, and electricity, as well as essential social services such as nutrition, health, early childhood development, education, and well-designed social protection is important for reducing poverty and promoting equality of opportunity. Medicare. Medicare is a federal government financed medical insurance assistance for eligible people 65 years and older. Medicaid. Medicaid is joint federal and state government financed medical insurance assistance for families and individuals who have low incomes. The people directly affected by the problems or issues of poverty in the community have to be actively and authentically participating in their efforts to fight poverty. People in poverty need to understand that they can often address and solve their own issues. The affected people going through the process of fighting poverty should have raised level of consciousness about their situation and their own capabilities in order to sustain their collective efforts and address future issues. Research by the Secretariat Division for Social Policy and Development indicates that improvement in the wages of both skilled and unskilled workers have helped lift millions of people out of poverty. Fighting poverty takes time. The process of fighting poverty is not simple, especially since a deep personal transformation needs to take place in those affected. It takes time to empower and facilitate affected people so they can become actors of their own development. It is a starting truth that can sometimes make us feel helpless, yet poverty can and must be fought.
How to address problems that we encounter in progress and development. Access to education. As said by Dr. Jose Rizal, Kabataan ng Pag-asa ng Bayan, keeping in mind that the hope of every nation is related to education, learning, and what they have acquired through the process. Things may gone wrong if the education collapse. It will lead to development delay. Things may be solved when everyone has given a chance to acquire quality education because it is a process of producing future professionals having the assurance of development if this issue will be addressed. Hunger and poverty. Addressing social development must first come to the citizens' necessities. If a nation neglect the hunger and poverty, development will never be possible. But when every nation have a unity of raising other people, even in simple ways, will somehow lessen the issue and may lead to growth in every aspect. In addressing hunger and poverty, everyone should do their duties not just because they relate in some ways, but also because there is a human needs. Human rights. Every nation has the rules and policies to follow, but society grows because of people upon concerning every rights and hearing people's view in a right way and process. Everyone should address issues concerning to human rights in order for the society to move and grow. Career opportunities. Economic views are playing a huge role in a development. Upon producing professionals, there should be several career opportunities that awaits every individual in accordance to their capabilities. In a growing number of unemployed graduate students, the society collapse also caused the development to be vulnerable in addressing this issue. People have created their own opportunities and ideas that come to reality, causing economic chaos but development in some way. Access to health. In accordance to development, citizens are the main priority. There are many people who is tired of reaching medical care and decided to just stay on their houses without treatment, especially those rural areas.
Program and seminars are part of recommendation and suggestions. By doing programs and seminars, people and every citizen needs to first be aware of nation's status that will come to realization that they are also part of the nation be affected when there is no need development happen. This will educate every individuals to choose the right officials that govern the nation and to be concerned to everyone and the society in order to overcome every issues and produce growth and motivations. In addition, doing a program and seminars, especially in rural areas, can provide additional knowledge to the citizen. In this way, they can be a big part too in fighting the poverty in our country. Lastly, be a good influence to make ideas into reality. In addressing every issue in relation to development, people will be motivated to get on their knees and stand up to improve the nations by doing good in school, work, and every societal aspect, keeping in mind that everything will come on its place when everyone is doing their duties, even in their simplest way. It will provide the outcomes that benefits each and every individuals. Like what the quotation said, we will soon harvest what we have planted.
Smooth like butter, like a criminal undercover. Don't pop like trouble, breaking into your heart like that. Cool shade stunner, yeah, owe it all to my mother. Hot like summer, yeah, I'm making you sweat like that. Break it down. Ooh, when I look in the mirror, I'm not too hard to do. I got the superstar glow, so ooh.